Welcome to part 2 of the 5K5, but not really the 5K5.
We called it the 5K 5x5, but we have now decided that it was probably actually the 5K 5x5x5.
Yes.
Which would be 125 minutes.
Yes, which
So
is probably more accurate to what it was.
Yeah, a little more accurate.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah, because
Yes, it is.
120 is 2 hours. Yeah,
I'm good at math.
Yeah, I'm really bad at math, so yeah, I was in the dumb math classes. Anyway, welcome back. Today, we're in this part 2. We're going to be chatting about 5K automation / fractional or fractional AI services, and also the 5K dev services, which is our development work that we do. And we have Jonathan here, who actually just did a 5K5 episode with me not too long ago.
Oh.
And then we have obviously our CEO Dave, and Dan Manners is here as well. Man Danners
is here.
Oh yeah. So Dad, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for hanging out, guys. So Dan, just like last time, just kind of represent the viewpoint of the client and kind of like this is a very new world. We're, along with everyone else in our industry, kind of figuring it out right now, what it is that we do. But we've never gotten a complaint for any of our fractional AI services, which is pretty good. So we have currently a 100% customer satisfaction, and we have done annual contracts where we meet with people every single, well, Jonathan will talk about the cadence, but every couple of weeks or every week or whatever, it depends on the situation. We've had clients that have used that just for consulting. We have clients that have used that for a mix of kind of consulting, and then we also do work for them. And I actually I don't know about you, Jonathan, and I'll pass it to you in a second, but I like the kind of lack of structure because I feel like it actually is more agile in that you can kind of in meeting 3, if the determination is, holy crap, we thought we were going to have the time to do this, but we don't, we can be like, oh, well, we'll take some of the time that we would spend consulting and we'll just do that work for you. Or maybe they choose to do more, or, whatever. So that's been really cool. And then the dev side, it's kind of, it's weird because we used to like think of AI integration as separate than dev, but the problem is that now every single dev project we do has AI involved. So and generally either in its creation or and the advantage for the client is they get so much more than they could before. And I think that's a big confusing thing in the market right now because it's so new. So we're going to talk about websites and kind of developing websites. We're going to talk about like different AI projects and things like that. But Jonathan, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure.
Can you go through and explain, obviously without using company names because we have NDAs and things, which people understand that. But if you could go through and kind of explain like some of the industry, I think you can be very specific about industries.
Yeah.
So like some of the stuff we've actually done, like one of the first ones that we took on out in Idaho, we met with a client who then decided like, we want to do this fractional thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe walk through some of those different experiences and the kind of the wow moments that they had and things like that. And Dan, if feel free to interrupt Jonathan, like if something that we're going over is kind of confusing or whatever to like that person who is, because this is not like SEO or paid. This is brand new. Yes, so new. So like we might be saying words or things that don't make a whole lot of sense. And if you could just feel free to interrupt or whatever as Jonathan's chatting. So yeah. To you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'll touch on the Idaho client. I'm probably going to do a lot of like mishmash between a couple different clients. So it'll be like, this is representing a conglomerate of a couple ones. But for, I would say a big overwhelming theme is clients that we work with directly. We constantly have this experience, or they constantly have this experience where they have this light bulb moment of realizing, oh, I actually didn't know what I didn't know. Like we hear that phrase a lot, like, oh, I don't know. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, that means in the AI world, there's news that comes out that they don't know about. And because they don't have that news and because they don't have the time dedicated like we have to actually investigating what does this new technology actually do and what are all the different industries that it could be impacting, they're not spending that time doing it. So they're either never hearing about it or they're hearing about it firsthand in a way that they don't think is relevant to them. And so they ignore it or they just never hear about it at all. And a lot of times that will take form in really weird ways that you wouldn't expect. So like, for example, there are some tools that we use as developers that greatly help our development process. We can create better code that operates better and finish that faster with certain AI assistants, essentially, that work with us on those projects. Well, some of those exact same bits of technology, we've coached our clients through using them for projects that have nothing to do with development work at all. And that's where the light bulb moment comes on. It starts with like wait, you're asking me to download a developer's platform onto my computer. Are you serious? I'm an HR director, or
Right.
I'm a financial guru, or I'm a financial whatever, a CFO at a company.
And we even had that happen internally because
yeah.
Jonathan and I have told every single person that works here, you have to become an AI developer. And it's like,
yeah.
But then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah. Well, so there's two separate things there, I think, going on. There's like, oh, you have to be an AI developer, and that is absolutely valid, and that's a thing. But even separate from that, there's a huge chunk of work that I think big corporations are facing now that they can do with AI, where the solution is to use the same tool that a developer uses, but in a slightly different way. So they're not even in the cases where they're not even actually developing any like software or applications, they're just using AI to take things that you would try in ChatGPT and be like, oh, it doesn't work. Well, yeah, because you threw it in ChatGPT.com.
Right.
Like, for example, oh, let me get my entire like 2025 financial records and drop that in ChatGPT and ask it a bunch of questions. It might work, and it can work. There are some situations where that does work, but by and large, you're asking the wrong tool to do the wrong thing in the wrong way.
And then they're the people that we hear say, oh, AI doesn't work.
Exactly.
Or we tried it.
Yep.
You know?
Or like ChatGPT doesn't work, so why would anything you're suggesting work? It's like, well, ChatGPT does work, but most likely what we're going to be telling you to do is not even related to ChatGPT, at all. Then we coach them through, okay, we'll get this app on your computer, and this is where the cool convergence between let's mentor you and let's do things for you comes into play. A lot of this has happened more internally, but this has happened client side as well. We're like, okay, great, here we've done enough discovery where we know this is your thing that you do on a regular basis that you need to either automate or get a lot of help with. Well, the solution for that is to install this thing on your computer, and it's, do this and this and this. It's like, okay, that's over my head. I'm in finance. I'm not a tech person. Well, great. Let's set it up for you. And that's what the Fractional AI program is so great for, because it's not this rigid, like, oh, it's either we're developing something for you where you're completely hands off and you're not learning anything in the process. You just get the final product, or we're going to train you, but we're never actually going to do anything for you. It's like you said earlier, it's hybrid. Like we'll teach you how to do something. And then when it comes to a point where maybe your tech savviness isn't up to par on this specific thing, then we'll just do that for you. And that has been transformational. I mean, just even I can speak at least to stories we've had internally here. I've had situations where I've had to handle, I think it was like 40,000 rows of the contact records with like detailed contact information for like prospects we were going to do outreach for. And that actually happens almost on a weekly basis. I'll need to do something like, oh, I need to get rid of these specific columns, or I'll need to have this separate sheet that has some of those same people, but different information than what's on that first sheet. And that one's like 20,000 and this one's 40,000 records. The amount of VLOOKUPs you'd have to do and all that, it's insane. Dropping that into one of these tools we recommend and guide people through, it's within like 2 minutes and it's done accurately.
Right. And I think what might help a lot of people too to understand the difference between plugging something in to ChatGPT and doing it the way that we do it is that we are writing code and we're prompting different AIs inside of that code, sometimes in succession. The reason that's important, I think, to understand is in that example of these spreadsheets, you could do all of that with ChatGPT, but you would be doing it with multiple prompts, setting up in each prompt, you're setting up the next prompt. And then taking that and setting up the next prompt, and taking that and setting up the next prompt manually. And we'll often do processes like that.
Yeah.
But then what we do is we create code that automates that process. So as an example, you were just sitting here while Dan was getting his computer ready, and you made kind of a joke, and you said, well, hang on, I need to make a couple hundred cold calls. And he goes, oh, okay, I'm done now. Well, and that's true, because you're running an application right now for a customer right now on his computer, where it's making how many hundreds of calls?
We're at 500 for today so far.
Okay, and your actual man hours in doing that was probably 10 minutes.
Yeah, I ended up spending 20 minutes to add a new feature, but
Sure.
yeah, the actual running of it was about 10 or 20
But
minutes.
setting that up
that was the beast.
Tons of time.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where I think a lot of people are getting confused. And I remember sitting at an airport with you, ironically, when we were going out, I think, to Idaho.
Yeah, same client. Yeah.
And I remember sitting at an airport restaurant with you, and you were showing me, I think, how you integrated AI into a Google Sheet.
Yeah.
And that was the moment for me that I had this light bulb of like, hang on a second. Are you saying that anything we can ask an AI and get a response on can be put inside of code? And now I look at that and I'm like, I was such an idiot, because that's literally why this was created to begin with. It was never, this stuff was never created to be a chatbot. It actually wasn't. It was created to be in code. And I think the chatbot thing is what brought it to the consumer facing world and is going to be really helpful and beneficial. But when you realize that, oh my gosh, you can, any decision like that can be made by a human, where there's a framework or a checklist involved in making that decision, literally anything can be decided now by AI inside of code. And so there will be billion-dollar companies that have one employee, the founder. I believe that 100%. We're not too far actually from it. There could already be some that are out there where the whole team is made up of AI agents. That's completely going to happen. But I think that was the light bulb for me. And I want to, Dan, from your perspective, the idea of code being AI injected, does that make sense the way that I'm explaining it? Or is that kind of like, what the heck do you mean by that?
Well, I think I mean, AI is a decision maker, so you put it within a framework and it can make decisions. I think that makes sense. I think how you offer this as a service is interesting, and I might be getting ahead of us, but what you're talking about isn't, I mean, you're a marketing company, essentially, but you're not doing marketing. You're talking about processes, actual business processes that are helping these companies. And it's interesting. I don't know how you structure that as a service. What are you taking away from something else? Are you?
Yeah, I love that question, and Jonathan can hit that one. But before I say that, I love that you just said you're a marketing company, because we have never called ourselves that. But that's what everybody thinks we are. We're a business growth engine. We're a business growth consultancy. So the AI thing actually fits in perfectly, because we've never ever, and it's kind of like what we talked about. If someone watching this, if you haven't watched the SEO and the ads one that Mark put together, make sure you watch that, because we cover this in great length and detail. But our processes as a marketing agency are unlike any marketing agency out there, because we're actually digging into like the core products and the business and we're more like a low cost McKinsey type of a business growth firm. And I always follow that up with, I'm not saying that to be cute. Like I recognize the depth of what I'm saying there, that I'm putting ourselves at that level of a McKinsey. Let me promise you something. This team can go into any organization in the world, and I'm not being funny. Microsoft, put us anywhere, and we will be able to interview people in that organization and create a massive amount of growth. Not necessarily on this side of it. We're not focused on the revenue increase all the time, although we are sometimes, with the example of the cold calls. But Jonathan will get into some examples of things that we have done even recently, where it's more of profit optimization. It's taking $1, and instead of you getting 20 cents in profit, you're now getting 40 cents in profit, because of one of two things. Either the same person is able to do twice as much with their time, or there's a process that used to be done by a person. That person is shifted to another resource, And that irritating thing that they were doing is now being taken care of by product. So yes, marketing is half of what we do, but on the AI side, it's more about saving time and energy. I think there's a recent project that we brought on where there's a massive amount of time saved.
Yeah, for the writing proposal one, possibly.
Well, you could do that one as well.
Okay.
But I was thinking the blades.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah. So we're doing.
Sorry to be cryptic.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We're trying to psychically communicate here. So we have a couple of clients we're working on that are in the visual space where vision with AI need to be integrated is like a critical part of that process. So right now we have one example of a client that has an insane amount of parts, tens of thousands of parts that they inventory, and they have a sales team and a support team that will go on site. And their current process is they go on site, look at the part in person, and be like, I don't know what that part number is, so I don't know what to quote you for. So they'll take the part and physically fly back to their office and hand it to an expert on their team that then has to determine what that part is and tell them, here's the part. Okay, great. Now I can give a price for that, give it back to the prospect and say, here's our price. And by then someone else has probably given the price as well. And they've kind of moved on at that point. So what this tool is doing for that client and others as well is it's allowing that salesperson to stay engaged with their client in real time and be able to use their phone, take a picture of that part, and have that picture be matched up against, again, tens of thousands of parts that, mind you, are ridiculously similar, like very, very similar, and give that salesperson, at worst, maybe 50 possible parts that they have to go through. And now they have to spend an hour, maybe 2 hours sifting through all these parts. Well, that sure beats going all the way back and flying in. Some situations is only 2 minutes because it has like the top 5 right there.
And we probably, to get to this point where we're at now, we probably realistically have close to 1,000 man hours.
Oh yeah.
So that's another thing to keep in mind, Dan. Like, one of the advantages, I think, of people utilizing our team is that we have been, for 3 years now, maybe even a little bit longer, we have been eating, sleeping, dreaming this stuff. And everything we learn that we have internally is then a benefit for the next client because we don't have to go through all that learning process now. So now for like vision is a huge part that we've been trying to crack the code on, because for example, if you have 250,000 CAD drawings and you have to create an app where somebody can take a photo of an item and it's looking at 250,000 CAD drawings, you can't. We just invented a new way to do that uses video. I don't want to get into details, but it basically you could think of it like it stores 250,000 videos, and the numbers might not be exactly right. Yeah. Jonathan's a very precise guy, so I don't. Well, it was actually 232,000. I recognize my numbers might be off here, but they're not too crazy off. So if there's all these different videos that we're creating with AI and then storing. And now that when they take a photo, it's actually, in the end, it's kind of referencing all 250,000 of those videos to find which part it is, for example. Like that, if we had a new client come on now, that all the it's got to be over 1,000. I'm thinking of the math and who's been working on it over years. It's got to be over 1,000 hours.
Oh yeah, sure.
All of that though is now done.
Yeah.
So like when people come to me, like, oh yeah, we can do that.
Right.
And we now have tested in what we kind of call 5K labs.
Yeah.
We've tested stuff to get to this point.
And what's crazy about that is throughout that process, like we document like crazy. So it's not only have we gotten to this point where we know how to do that really well, we also know what doesn't work, but in a very like scientific and mathematical way. We know this is specifically what we tested and what didn't work. And what's even crazier is I'm talking, what is this, March? So January. So in the last 2 months, newer technology has come out that after we spent all those hours discovering what works and what doesn't, this new not brand new technology, it's just like vastly improved technology. This comes out, we implement that in this same project, and all of a sudden accuracy rates go up, the speed goes up, just everything about it improves so drastically. And that specific thing that changed, that represents, I don't know how many personal like human hours of studying the most like boring white papers on like how I don't even want to get into the specifics of it because it's first of all very boring and second of all it's kind of part of our secret sauce. But it's some very boring documents on the strategy on how you formulate data and how you represent it and how you look it up and match things up. It's like it's mind numbing.
And there's nobody out there to follow.
Right.
Like that's kind of the cool thing too. Like we are following the creators. It's almost like in the manufacturing world, we're at the quarry.
Yeah.
Like we're at the quarry, like literally looking at everything, or maybe one step from the quarry.
Yeah.
So like you've got these AI providers, the LLMs, you know, there's a great, you could look it up. Jensen, the CEO of NVIDIA, did a great keynote where he talked about the layers of AI. And we live in the product creation, which is at the top. However, with the stuff that we're talking about right now, you know, it's like energy is the bottom level, and then the second level is the models, because the models take the energy, and we also sit right above the models, and like taking that information and then figuring out how to do the application layer. I'm getting really crazy technical here, but my point is like, Jonathan has a thing for our whole team where he is catching the latest news, and then he's kind of formulating that into, oh my gosh, this new thing is available, and he throws it into our thing that we use where we all communicate, and we're able to then, like, if it's relevant to us, which it all is in some ways, but we're able to kind of take all this new information. So literally the moment that a new tech comes out, our whole team is not only seeing it, but we're actually utilizing it. Yeah. And our team knows how to translate things like that into business use cases. So two things, Jonathan. Let's first talk for a minute. What is the experience on the monthly fractional AI service? We call it 5K I Automate. I don't know if we'll always call it that because this is, again, so new. But right now we call it 5K I Automate. And it's a fractional AI service where it's $5,000 a month. And who are the people generally that you're interacting with on those calls? Like in terms of job description, what's the process? Like, talk about the interview process. If somebody wants to do like an AMP, which is our automation mastery plan, like what's that process look like, and how do we kind of decide how to help?
Yeah, for sure. So best case scenario is a client will work with us by starting out with, like you said, an AMP, and that involves doing very extensive interviews to very high level management down to as low as we can get without getting too far into the weeds. So like obviously CEO, CFO, et cetera, director of operations, director of customer service. And then we'll even throw a couple in there like production laborer or customer service rep or sales rep, especially, for example. We do all these interviews and we have these like general guidance of list of questions that we ask to try to pull out information about what's your processes, what do you run into, what are your obstacles and issues and all that. And what we end up coming out with after that whole process is a perspective on that company as an outsider that even their C-level executive team can't see, because their team is sharing things with us that they don't share with their executive team on a daily basis, because number one, they typically just don't need to. It's not relevant. And number two, if they were like the CEO level team, probably wouldn't know how to ask those questions specifically because they're not in the weeds with automation on how to understand that. So we come out of that with, okay, here's your biggest bottlenecks as a company. Here's what needs to get resolved. Do you want us to just do it all for you? Do you want us to take off the things that your team is actually empowered to do, and let's coach you through it? And that's where the fractional AI comes in play, or kind of a hybrid, which is also fractional AI. So that then transitions into that monthly recurring support fractional AI, where we are talking with same level of leadership, C-level down to director or down to practitioner, implementing specific projects. So we'll identify, here's a bottleneck in this area. So for a couple of weeks, we might go a couple of weeks straight on just one project and do a combination of educating that person on how to do some things on their own, and a combination of us actually doing a bunch of work for them and then handing off that somewhat usable project and helping them take it to the finish line. And then they're the one that like owns that thing at their company. So it's no longer this fight of like, oh, well, 5K, we have to be the ones that create the product and deliver it, or like, no, we can't do that because then it's there. There's no confusion there because we've done a lot of that heavy lifting in the meantime. Slight side trail, but directly related to this, there's this podcast I'm listening to that talks about the automation process that's integrated into B2B, especially B2B companies. And there's this early phase of like discovery and brainstorming, and then there's this big phase of like just raw development or like production work, and then there's like the review phase at the end. Well, we don't really think in terms of that as humans, but now that we have AI, where basically AI is handling, it can handle much of that middle and between parts. So part of our objective is where it ties back into fractional AI. Our objective is to help C-level down to director level individuals understand that shift in mindset and start thinking through, oh, okay, if this is possible to be done with AI, how can I potentially automate this part? Let me bring that up to the 5K team and see if this is even possible. And all of a sudden, light bulbs start going on, and they realize, oh, there's actually way more than can be automated that I even knew initially, because I thought that would have been impossible to do. And now they start moving into this new experience of, I'm going to ideate and figure out what needs to get done in my role right now, today or this week, and then learn how to use AI to get that main part of it done. And then I'm just taking my domain knowledge and expertise at the end of this process, reflecting back and seeing what needs to be tweaked instead of being burdened with that whole 80% of the work.
How do you handle the response of, because we hear this all the time, like my stuff's too technical.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's too AI wouldn't understand it. And generally they're saying that because they went to ChatGPT and had a bad response.
Yeah. Well, it's because there's both a learning curve and there's like a working curve of getting from it's in my head or in the industry to something that's actually usable. And I think what typically happens in times, experiences when I've interviewed people and asked about their processes, it's usually like, oh yeah, I tried, like you said, I tried to automate that with AI. Okay, what did that look like? Oh, well, I went to ChatGPT and said this thing. Or I even had one situation where someone said, I was like, okay, so but what did you actually say to ChatGPT? And it was like a 5-word phrase that you would type into Google. It's like, okay, let's step back a second. This is not how we use ChatGPT. So walking through that and then getting to a realization of like, oh wait, you mean that I have to put in, like I can put in like a 5-paragraph prompt to the ChatGPT? It's like, not only can you, like you need to in order to get that. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, you should, right? But like at the same time, like how do you? When I mentioned you don't know what you don't know earlier, a lot of times we face situations with clients where someone with a really strong level of domain knowledge in an area, let's say financials, for example, doesn't know what to prompt AI to do because they know how to do it themselves, but they've never had to train someone else on how to do their exact role. So where we can come in is we can help interview them and pull that information out of them. And then we do some of the heavy lifting on our end to what's called prompt engineering, which is essentially taking that knowledge and information and testing different versions of, okay, what if I ask AI in this way to do it? What if I change this and ask in a different way? We get nerdy and look at the settings for AI. Like, what if we change something called temperature? What if we change the top P and top K and the reasoning level? Like all these different settings that like most people just aren't even aware of. Then we can come back and say, okay, well, here's what seemed to work best. Does this actually work for you? Most times than not, they're like, oh crap, I didn't realize it could actually do all that. And then now that's a usable, it seems silly, but it's like, okay, what's the deliverable is a prompt? Are you serious? Like you just gave me a 5 paragraphs and you think like, well, that represents a considerable amount of time and effort on our end to get to that point.
Yeah.
And now it's going to save you a considerable amount of time.
Well, there are people now who are prompt engineers as a profession.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
And I think that gets a bad rap because there are so many people that are like, air quotes, prompt engineers that really don't do much other than just like have ChatGPT create a prompt for them.
Right.
There's a whole science behind it. So that kind of makes those of us look bad that are actually doing it legitimately, but there's a real actual science behind it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like, I remember, and Dan, I think you'll appreciate this. I was talking about a little bit on the other side, the AI focus group thing, because we have a client, we did a big dev website project for them. And to start off this project, we had AI scrape their existing site, saved the images of their site, saved all of the content on their site, put that all in a database. And then we took our initial meetings with the client, with the challenges that they had with their website, things like that. We fed this all in. Not inside of ChatGPT, right. Inside of like a program, an IDE, a developer environment. Thank you. Mm-hmm. We dump all this stuff in, and we were like, take into account what they said they want. I think we had brand guidelines. We had, their vocab, their voice that we had helped them to prepare, all those things. And it recreated an entire website. Now, again, this is days of time, but it's what the output would have previously, I'm not joking, would have taken 5-6 months to get to that point, and it was probably 2 days.
Right.
And it was better than what we would have done in 5 to 6 months. And when the client saw it, their exact phrase to me, I will never forget this, was, "You built everything that we didn't know to ask for, and it's incredible." And that website design project went from August to, we just launched last month. So September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So let's call it 6 months it took. They now have a site that would have cost $250,000 easy 5 years ago.
Yeah.
They did not spend $250,000. But the other beautiful thing about that is we took that site then, and we had the new site. We made an AI focus group that it looked at the site, it came up with demographics, built this whole story, and then I created a 300-page document where it was a narrative of each of these fake people that went to the site, and it narrates their train of thought as they look at the nav bar, as they look at the hero image, what they were feeling. And the feedback we got from that gave us the last 2 or 3 sessions where we used that and made the site even better. One example was logos. So they have a lot of their client logos, and some of them are pretty impressive, but they serve 5 or 6 different industries. And so one of the feedbacks from these AI things, like one of them worked in, say, the education world. And they're like, "Well, I see these logos and they're impressive, but I don't see any that have to do with me." Meanwhile, there are some there, but they were all mixed in. So we added this thing where there was a filtering mechanism where you can click on the different industries to see the specific ones that are for you. And then when the AI saw that, it was like, this is amazing. So I can't even explain, like, it's not even the development work. It goes so far beyond that.
Yeah.
And our team here is so passionate about our clients, and everybody says that, but most of their clients don't feel it. And our clients, you can tell by the feedback, like every call we have with a client is transcribed and recorded, and the client gets to do a smiley face or a frowny face or whatever from that call. That's shared with our entire company, and it's automated. So after every single call, there's a whole transcript of everything that was talked about that's put into our public chat channel, public meaning within our team, and the client's feedback on how they felt about the call. And so we are using and actively eating what we create.
Exactly.
So I know we didn't get into like specific dev projects, but, and I'll hit that real quick. So outside of this fractional experience where they pay the $5,000 a month and they meet with us on a recurring basis, which is kind of defined by you and your team, where you decide like, okay, so we're going to meet every week.
Sure.
Or we're going to meet every 3 weeks,
Yeah.
or we're going to, and it kind of, and we've never had a situation where a client has felt like they're not getting value.
Yeah, no.
And so we make sure that there's value there. But then we also do projects where they'll come to us, like a website project. We would give them a dollar amount that we believe it's going to take, and we don't go over.
Right.
As long as there's no scope creep. So if we commit to doing a project and we say it's going to be $45,000 for this website or $80,000 for this tool, we're not going to come back as long as they don't ask for additional things. But we scope the work out very clearly, and then we make sure that, if anyone is losing money, it's us,
Right?
Because we stay true to our commitments. It's not like you get a quote and then you come back. So, Dan, I know I want taking all that. Are there any, and if there's not, that's fine, but are there any questions that come to your mind, or skepticism, or like, this is so confusing, or from like a services standpoint?
Yeah. So on the fractional side, what you're talking about, I mean, there's new stuff every day with AI, right? So a client comes to you and they have a concept of, this is what we want AI to be able to do. Help us do that. that's part of the fractional thing. You guys can fit that in and schedule it out and all. But let's say you see something in AI that might help a client and you take it to them. I'm assuming you would take it to them. Yes?
Like a non-fractional AI client, you mean? Is that what you're getting at?
You find a tool or you see a use case that you think would benefit one of your clients that they didn't ask for. You would approach them with a suggestion of, hey, this might help you.
Yeah, maybe not as aggressively and as quickly as the others, because we have a lot of clients to go through.
Sure.
But yeah, we have regular calls with them. So, when someone on our team might, connect with our client relationships manager and say, hey, this is something we should mention to this client. We have weekly meetings as a team for about all of our clients where we go through things like that. Like, oh, this client should know about this. So, yeah, we would share that. So there's definitely a level of like exposure to that our non-fractional AI clients get, which I think is what you're leaning into. But there's a level of like savviness in using that new feature or tool or capability that is not gained without having that like hand holding, and accountability is a big part of that too. We've had accountability issues internally as a team, and that's with like our team and leadership and all be like, hey guys, we need to use this new tool. It just takes time to do something new, right? So even more so us trying to get a new client to do things, there's definitely been times where like we've had to hop on several calls and be like, okay, come on, we talked about this tool. It's super important. Like, let's get on it. That's kind of part of the service. It's a fringe benefit of the service is that
Right.
team gets to have that accountability, that have themselves held to the fire. Like, okay, I need to use this tool because it's going to help me, even though it's new.
And I think too, what you're kind of saying there too, Dan, and I know we're at a spot where we got to wrap up, and we can continue the conversation. This is, I feel like we need to do this more actually.
Yeah.
I think so too.
I think it's just so valuable. But I think to kind of close that out, there's a business reason why we don't do long-term contracts. And it has nothing to do with closing more sales, although I believe it does have that natural benefit. I think if we locked people into 12 months with things or something like a lot of our competitors do, I think we wouldn't close as many deals. However, the reason we do it is more of an accountability thing for us, where we have to do things constantly that will impress our clients with new information, or they're not going to stay. So there's and this is, I'm just letting you into like our world a little bit, the selfish part of it, the business part of it. I know for a fact that if Jonathan is taking the things that we learn from working with client ABC over here, and we discover this thing, or to your point that you just said, there's this new tech that comes out that now can, do this thing even better. We are going to create longer term clients who stay with us for more $5,000 months because we're bringing these new things all the time, because otherwise they're not going to find out about them. And if they are going to find out about them, and this is a good thing to close on, I think, if they are going to find out that these new AI things exist, they're going to have no clue how to actually integrate it. And we have this, it's not because we're smarter than anybody else. It's because we have all these use cases that we're seeing in front of us. And when you see that this e-commerce company, I was just downstairs.
Yeah.
I can't say who, but again, there's a product where it's an e-commerce site, and there's a product that you customize to look the way that you want it to look for yourself. And it has to do with like a sign that's made. And they're losing conversions right now because this isn't working the way that they're trying to get it to work. And so one of our developers is downstairs probably right now actually working on it. And he discovered something new where there's a different way you can do this tech. Well, that little instance that has to do with making signs you hang on your wall, that little instance is now known. And now there's a whole slew of clients that we can use that same type of concept for. And now we have the experience to do it. So that's one of the benefits, I think, of being one of our clients, right? Is because there's nobody, I haven't met anybody yet at any company who is on top of this stuff at the speed that we are, outside of people that work at actual AI companies.
Right.
So,
Can I give one quick example before we wrap this up?
Please, you're the one with the hard
Sure,
stop,
I know,
so,
I realize,
yeah.
but I think this is relevant enough and still can kind of tie a loop in some things here. So we recently, well, not recently, for a long time have been on the marketing side trying to understand and doing testing on, okay, we know SEO visibility, what that looks like. Well, what does it look like to be visible in AI platforms like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or, Perplexity and all these things? Well, while we have figured out how to detect that visibility, there aren't very many tools out there that actually track that visibility in a way that we know our clients need to see that. There are tools that are very it's like, for nerds, to, for lack of a better word, of like, okay, you have to know exactly what you're doing. And if you put the wrong prompt in, you're actually getting false positives or false negatives. Like, it's a mess. So we ate our own medicine, drank our own medicine, whatever, created this tool where we're now able to track that visibility. And now that's of a benefit to our existing clients at no extra cost for now while it's in beta, where they're able to see that visibility. So the reason I bring that up is because I think a really weird, unique way that we set ourselves apart from the competition is, yes, we are incredibly innovative on the dev side and the AI side, but we have this marketing component too, where we're able to see the two different worlds, but like through the same lens. So like, what other agency out there, a dev agency out there, and there's plenty of them, that's why there are these tools out there, can be like, oh, people need to track visibility in AI engines. Great, we have a tool now that does this. Well, no, it doesn't work great. Or marketers out there like, oh yeah, I understand now how to actually track visibility, but you're telling me I got to sit here for an hour every day and manually do this in ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity. Like, we can merge those two worlds together and now have a tool that we've created with our marketing mindset built into it. And now our clients are benefiting from that.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Dan, anything else to close us out?
I mean, we could talk for hours on this particular topic.
I think we should. But the bottom line is, you can have us quote projects on a per project basis. We can also do projects through our Fractional AI program. It's kind of a way to, if you have a $60,000 project that you want done and you're okay having it get done over the course of, a year, for example, you could use the Fractional AI service technically to do that.
Sure.
Because it's all time and materials for us.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of how we see it. So, but yeah, and you're never locked into anything. So it's just it's a cool way to do things. And again, thank you guys. I want to continue this conversation. So we need to do some more of these. And
I agree.
Yeah, there's some work for you, Mark.
Oh yeah.
Man.
Thank you for listening, and tune in for whenever we do the next one of these. Peace out.
Peace out.